Welcome to Translanguaging 101 with Chris Cook and Matt Erickson from Moreland University. We'd like to give you a basic overview of the theory of translanguaging. It will be basic, but we hope gives you a good idea of what the theory is about, what are some of the benefits, what might it look like in a classroom, and just a few other things to be aware of. So we begin by talking quickly about the traditional views of language, which is traditionally language and linguistic systems have been identified based on commonalities, patterns, and so on. They've been defined by someone given names like English, Vietnamese, etc. And then beyond that, sometimes more specific labels such as formal, vernacular, regional accents, and so on. And therefore, these languages have essentially been put into neat little boxes that are named, and then eventually they tend to fall into a hierarchy, even in education where we use terms like L1, L2, first language, etc. And in many contexts, but especially in an educational context, this might best be represented as a wall. The named languages kept distinct and separate and safe from one another. I'm learning this target language now, so I'm supposed to turn off this other language. The pedagogy or principles behind translanguaging challenge this basic understanding of language. Here are two definitions created by Ofelia Garcia and based on her extensive work with Sarah Vogel, Susana Ibarra Johnson, Kate Seltzer, and others into the concept of translanguaging. And here's the definition that we have created to explain translanguaging. We've essentially synthesized and simplified those other definitions into something that we hope retains their essential ideas. And that is that translanguaging is a pedagogy or approach to language that recognizes that language divisions do not exist in the human mind. Therefore, it seeks to provide specific and purposeful opportunities for learners to utilize the full range of their languaging tools for communication, processing, and thinking. In so doing, eliminating, or at least reducing, inequities inherently resulting from these language divisions. Essentially, therefore, translanguaging takes the wrecking ball to these walls and boxes and says they're not there. The people's linguistic repertoire is not neatly separated like this. That our language is much more like a river, and that even when some things are not on the surface, they are still moving and active below the surface. And that language might be better viewed as a verb than as a noun. I am languaging. Translanguaging is not code switching. The two may appear or sound the same, but they are not. Code switching is turning off one language and turning on another for the purpose of the audience. While translanguaging may sound the same, its purpose is internal. Language choices are made by the learner for the benefit of the learner's own processing and understanding. Finally, translanguaging posits that these walls or divisions inevitably create a hierarchy which results in inequity. One language being favored over another, one person being assessed using their full repertoire, while another is unfairly limited. So, what does translanguaging look like in the classroom? Here are a few images of translanguaging being used in the classroom. Let's take a look at some possible ideas. Here are some strategies that might be incorporated into the classroom to allow for translanguaging. Not surprisingly, some are simply solid teaching strategies. Others are more specifically utilizing translanguaging. Again, remember, the purpose is to support the learner, not simply to code switch. Here you can also see some of the potential benefits that research has shown that translanguaging can provide. These benefits are academic, but also go far beyond that into issues of self-esteem, confidence, connection, and of course, equity. Translanguaging is a theory or perspective more than a specific set of strategies. And there are a few things to keep in mind for those of you looking to possibly use translanguaging in your classroom. First of all, if your learning targets are specifically language targets, then limiting other language usage may at times be necessary. For classrooms with multilingual learners, the lack of language ability on the part of the instructor can make it challenging to know when students are using all of their language purposefully, and is something to consider in your activity development. And at the least, I think translanguaging is a powerful way to look at your students and to create a more equitable classroom. So simply by taking on the mindset, even if activity implementation is slow or limited, it will benefit your students. Keep reading and researching. Find out how this theory can work for you and your students. Thank you very much. Here are some of the resources we used to provide the information for this video, and we thank you for listening.